the Headless One. You may have heard stories about the Headless Ghost, seen it in movies and TV shows, but in this video, we bring you a real-life horror story from Bengal about the legendary Headless Spirit. Dibakar grew up in Lucknow and was returning to his village after many years. His village was located in a small corner near the West Bengal and Bangladesh border. The last time he had visited was in his childhood. Now, after his parents' death, his only remaining family was his grandmother, and he had come to take her back with him to Lucknow. As he neared the village, he saw that the main road was in bad condition due to heavy rain. Looking around, he noticed a signboard pointing towards a shortcut through the jungle leading to his village. Dibakar decided to take that route, unaware that this would be the biggest mistake of his life. The evening was setting in, and the jungle path was eerily deserted. There was no one else around. As he walked, he suddenly felt a strange heaviness in the air. It was as if a 10-foot-tall man was hiding behind the bushes, staring at him. Assuming it was an animal, Dibakar increased his pace, but suddenly he tripped over something and fell to the ground. When he turned to see what it was, his hair stood on end. What he had stumbled over was not a rock or branch, but a rotting, severed human head. Terrified, Dibakar ran as fast as he could and somehow made it to his grandmother's house. His grandmother was shocked to see him, not only because she was happy to see him after so many years, but also because his clothes were covered in mud. When Dibakar told her that he had taken the jungle route and seen a severed head, his grandmother's face turned pale. She revealed a terrifying secret. The jungle path had been abandoned for years because it was haunted by a headless spirit known as Sarkata. She told him a legend from their village. Years ago, a strong young man lived in the village. He fell in love with a girl, but when he expressed his love, her family brutally beat him and humiliated him. The young man lost his mind from the trauma, and in his rage, he murdered the girl one night. Her family saw him commit the crime and, in revenge, dragged him into the jungle and beheaded him. They left his headless body there, and ever since, his restless spirit has roamed the jungle, burning with vengeance. People say that if the Headless One appears before someone, he kills them and turns them into another headless spirit. Dibakar was shocked but refused to believe in such supernatural tales. He told his grandmother that what he saw was just a decayed corpse and nothing more. After dinner, he went to sleep, but at midnight, he suddenly heard a soft whisper calling his name. Half asleep, he looked around, but no one was there. Thinking it was just his grandmother, he checked her room, but she was fast asleep. Convinced it was just exhaustion, he went back to bed. But then he heard it again. In his dream, he saw himself standing in the jungle, and right behind him was a 10-foot-tall figure holding a severed head. It was the same rotting head he had seen on the path. The head began to beg for help, asking Dibakar if he could reattach it to its body. As soon as Dibakar hesitated, the headless figure let out a terrifying laugh, and suddenly, Dibakar woke up screaming. But as soon as he opened his eyes, the floating severed head was right in front of him, laughing maniacally. Paralyzed with fear, Dibakar couldn't move. He let out a piercing scream, waking his grandmother, who rushed in and turned on the lights. The moment the lights came on, the head disappeared. His grandmother asked him what had happened, but Dibakar lied and said it was just a bad dream. That night, he couldn't sleep. The next day, he heard more horrifying stories from the villagers about the headless ghost, including one that said, "The spirit begs people to reattach its head. If someone does, it unleashes destruction upon the entire village. But if they fail, the spirit kills them and turns them into another headless ghost." That night, as Dibakar prepared to sleep again, he saw a tall, shadowy figure wrapped in a shawl standing outside his window. Before he could react, he felt his breath being cut off. The severed head had appeared behind him and was strangling him with its own hair. Before he could escape, a strong gust of wind blew through the room, and Dibakar blacked out. The next morning, his grandmother found him missing. Panicked, she searched everywhere but couldn't find him. Fearing the worst, she gathered the villagers and went into the jungle. There, they heard a deep growling sound. When they reached the source, they saw Dibakar standing with a large sword. His eyes had turned completely white, and he was growling like a wild animal. His grandmother called out to him, but the moment she did, Dibakar raised his sword and beheaded himself in front of everyone. The villagers fled in terror, and his grandmother collapsed to the ground, crying. After years, the headless spirit had claimed another victim. After this horrifying incident, the remaining villagers abandoned the village forever. Today it is said that in the jungles of Bengal, not just one, but many headless spirits now wander, and they are known as Skandokota or Kondakota.